husband's best friend knocked on my door at midnight, soaking wet from the rain. "He's alive," he whispered, his eyes wide with panic. "Don't tell anyone." Those 6 words shattered the life I had carefully rebuilt over the past year. 1 year of grief therapy, of explaining to our children why their father wasn't coming home, of learning to sleep alone in our king-sized bed. 1 year since I had identified James's body after the boating accident, my tears falling on his cold face as I said goodbye. 1 year of insurance claims and funeral arrangements and condolence casseroles. And now, Marcus stood on my doorstep, telling me it had all been a lie. I felt my legs giving out beneath me, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. The children were asleep upstairs. Amara, 15, and Thabo, 12, their lives finally finding a new normal after losing their father. And now this. I pulled Marcus inside, checking the street to make sure no one had seen him, and closed the door. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "I saw his body. I buried my husband." Marcus ran his hand over his face, leaving streaks of rainwater. "Adanna, that wasn't James. It was someone else. James faked his death. The insurance money, the business debts, it was all planned. I helped him do it." I stared at Marcus, the man who had been by our side for 20 years, who had held me as I wept at the funeral, who had helped me sort through James's belongings, the man who had looked me in the eyes for a year and lied. "Where is he?" I whispered. "Mozambique. But he's in trouble now, big trouble. People are looking for him, dangerous people. They know he's alive and they want their money. They'll come for you and the kids next. We need to move quickly." I wanted to scream, to hit Marcus, to call the police. But a voice inside me, a voice honed by 15 years of marriage to a man I now realized I never truly knew, told me to wait, to listen, to understand what I was dealing with before I reacted. "Tell me everything," I said, leading Marcus to the kitchen where the children wouldn't hear us if they woke up. "Start from the beginning." If you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe for more. I share new stories every week, and your support means everything to me. I first met James at the university in Cape Town. I was studying nursing, and he was in his final year of business school. He had that special way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. His smile could light up the darkest corners of your heart, and his dreams were bigger than the African sky. We married after I graduated, and I believed we would build a beautiful life together. For the first 10 years, everything seemed perfect. James started his import-export business, and I worked at the local hospital while raising our children. We bought our house in the suburbs of Johannesburg, a beautiful 4-bedroom home with a garden where the children could play. James became known in the community as a successful businessman, generous with donations to local schools and churches. I was proud to be his wife, to stand beside him at community events, to host dinner parties for his clients and friends. Then, 3 years ago, things began to change. James started coming home later and later. He was always on his phone, stepping outside to take calls. He traveled more frequently, sometimes with no notice. "It's just business," he would say when I asked questions. "Nothing for you to worry about." But I did worry. I noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way he would check the locks on the doors and windows twice before bed. I tried to talk to him about it, but he dismissed my concerns. "The business is growing, that's all. More responsibility means more stress." I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Our lives, our children's futures, everything was built on the foundation of trust between us. Marcus had been there from the beginning, James's roommate in university, best man at our wedding, godfather to our children. When James was traveling, Marcus would check on us, bring toys for the kids, make sure we were okay. He was like a brother to James, an uncle to our children, and a trusted friend to me. If there was anyone who would know what was really happening with James, it was Marcus. So I asked him, one evening when he came by during one of James's trips, "Is everything okay with the business? With James?" Marcus's face showed nothing. "Of course, Adanna. Why do you ask?" "He seems different, worried, secretive." Marcus smiled and patted my hand. "It's just the new contracts in Mozambique. Big opportunities, but also big pressure. He'll be back to his old self once everything is settled." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Marcus had never lied to me before. At least, that's what I thought. 6 months before the accident, James changed our insurance policy. Increased the payout to 2 million rand. It's for you and the kids, he said. Just in case. I signed the papers without questioning it. A month later, he updated his will. Again, I didn't question it. These were responsible actions for a family man. 3 months before the accident, James took me out for a special dinner, just the two of us. He seemed both sad and excited, distracted yet intensely focused on me all at once. He kept saying how much he loved me, how everything he did was for our family. He made me promise that if anything ever happened to him, I would take care of the children, make sure they got good educations, keep them safe. Nothing is going to happen to you, I said, troubled by his intensity. He squeezed my hand so tight it hurt. Promise me, Adanna. I promise, I said, and he relaxed. 1 month before the accident, James took the children on separate outings. He spent a whole Saturday with Amara, taking her shopping, to lunch, and for ice cream. The next day he took Thabo fishing, something he hadn't done in months. When they came home, the children were glowing with happiness, and James had tears in his eyes when he hugged them goodnight. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. He was saying goodbye. The day of the accident, James called me from his boat. He and Marcus were going fishing in the lake, something they did regularly. I'll be home for dinner, he said. I love you, Adanna. Always remember that. 3 hours later, Marcus called me, his voice breaking with sobs. There had been an accident. The boat had capsized in a sudden storm. Marcus had made it to shore, but James was gone. The next days were a blur. The search party found a body 2 days later, bloated from the water, the face damaged beyond recognition. But the clothes, the wedding ring, the watch, they were all James's. I identified him through these items, too distraught to look closely at the ruined face. The funeral was closed casket. I was a widow at 42. The insurance company paid promptly. There was no suspicion. Boating accidents happen. I paid off the mortgage on our house and put money aside for the children's education, just as James had wanted. Marcus was by my side through all of it, helping me with paperwork, bringing food, checking on the children, and for a year, I grieved. I went to therapy. I joined a support group for widows. I learned to be both mother and father to my children. I believed I was honoring James's memory by staying strong, by keeping my promise to take care of our family. Now, sitting across from Marcus at my kitchen table in the middle of the night, I realized it had all been a lie. The grief, the struggle, the brave face I put on for our children, all based on a terrible deception. Why? I asked, my voice barely audible. Why would he do this to us? Marcus looked down at his hands. The business was in trouble. Big trouble. James made some deals with the wrong people. He borrowed money he couldn't repay. They threatened him. Threatened you and the kids. He thought faking his death was the only way out. New identity, new country, and the insurance money to pay off the worst of the debts and leave you provided for. So I've spent a year grieving for a man who isn't even dead, while he's been living it up in Mozambique? Marcus winced. It hasn't been easy for him either, Adanna. He's been living in hiding, missing you and the kids every day. He wanted to contact you so many times, but it was too dangerous. Why now? Why are you telling me this now? Because the people he owes money to have figured it out. They know he's alive. They've tracked him to Mozambique, and they'll come looking here next. They think you might know where he is, or at least where the rest of their money is. The rest of their money? What do you mean? The insurance money only covered part of what he owed. There's still about 1.5 million rand outstanding. They'll come looking for it, and they won't take no for an answer. I felt sick. Are you telling me my children are in danger because of what James did? Marcus nodded gravely. That's exactly what I'm saying. You need to take the kids and go somewhere safe until James can fix this. Fix this? Like he's been fixing it for the past year? By hiding and lying? My shock was turning to anger. No, I'm calling the police. Marcus grabbed my arm as I reached for my phone. You can't. If you do, the insurance fraud will come out. You'll lose everything. The house. The money for the kids' education. And the police can't protect you from these people. They have connections everywhere. I pulled my arm away, my mind racing. I need to think. I need time. We don't have time, Marcus insisted. They could be watching the house already. You need to pack essentials for you and the kids, only what you can carry. I'll take you somewhere safe. Where? Where is safe from people like this? Marcus hesitated. James has a plan. That's all I can say for now. I laughed bitterly. James has a plan. Just like he had a plan to fake his own death? To lie to his wife and children? To leave us grieving while he started a new life? It wasn't like that, Marcus protested. He was trying to protect you. By breaking my heart? By letting our children believe they'd lost their father? I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Get out of my house, Marcus. I need to think about what's best for my children. And it's certainly not running away in the middle of the night on the word of a man who's been lying to me for a year. Adanna, please, get out. I'll decide what to do in the morning. After I've had time to think, Marcus rose slowly. Okay, but be careful. Don't call anyone. Don't tell anyone what I've told you. Pack bags for you and the kids, just in case. I'll come back tomorrow evening. After Marcus left, I sat alone in my kitchen, staring at nothing. My husband was alive. The man I had grieved for, cried over, missed with every fiber of my being. He was alive, and had chosen to leave us. Had watched from afar as I identified a stranger's body as his own, had let his children suffer the trauma of losing their father. I thought back over our 15 years of marriage, searching for signs that I had been living with someone capable of such deception. Had I ever really known him? How many other lies had there been? And now, I had to decide what to do. Go on the run with my children, trusting Marcus and ultimately James. Call the police and risk losing everything, including possibly our safety. Confront the dangerous people James owed money to. As the first light of dawn filtered through the kitchen window, I made my decision. I would protect my children at all costs. But I would do it my way, not James's way, not Marcus's way. I had spent a year learning to stand on my own, and I wasn't about to give that up now. I went upstairs to check on my sleeping children, their faces peaceful, unaware that their world was about to change again. I touched Amara's cheek gently, brushed Thabo's hair from his forehead. I will keep you safe, I whispered, no matter what. The next morning I went through the motions of normal life. I made breakfast for the children, checked Amara's homework, reminded Thabo to pack his soccer gear for after-school practice. I smiled and nodded, and pretended that my entire world hadn't been turned upside down overnight. After dropping them off at school, I drove to the bank. I wasn't going anywhere, but I needed to understand exactly what financial resources I had if things got bad. I withdrew 50,000 rand in cash, enough to get us out of the country if necessary, but not so much that it would raise immediate suspicions. I checked the balance of our accounts. 850,000 rand in savings, part of the insurance payout I had set aside for emergencies. The rest was in investment accounts for the children's education. Next, I drove to our family lawyer's office. Thomas had handled James's will and the insurance claim. Adanna, what a pleasant surprise, he said as his secretary showed me in. How are you doing? I need to ask you something, Thomas, and I need complete confidentiality. His friendly smile faded, replaced by professional concern. Of course. If someone fakes their own death for insurance money, what happens to the spouse who claimed that money if they didn't know it was fraud? Thomas blinked, clearly caught off guard. That's quite a specific question. It's for a friend, I said, the lie sounding hollow even to me. Thomas didn't press the issue. Well, if the spouse can prove they had no knowledge of the fraud, they typically wouldn't face criminal charges. However, the insurance company would certainly demand repayment of the full amount, plus possible penalties. They would likely lose their home if it was paid off with that money. Any investments made with it. Basically anything purchased or paid for with those funds. I see, I said, my heart sinking. And the children? Would there be any protection for them? Limited, I'm afraid. The courts generally try to protect innocent minors, but if the primary assets were purchased with fraudulently obtained funds... He shrugged apologetically. I thanked him and left, my mind racing. If James was exposed, we would lose everything. The house, the children's education funds, our security. I couldn't let that happen. My next stop was the hospital where I worked part-time as a nurse. I spoke with my supervisor and requested a month of emergency family leave, citing issues with my mother's health in Nigeria. She was sympathetic. Everyone still treated me with kid gloves since James's death. I now had time to figure this out without having to maintain my work schedule. On my way home, I stopped at a small electronics store and bought a new prepaid phone. If dangerous people were looking for us, I didn't want to risk using my regular phone. Back at home, I began searching through James's old papers that I had kept in boxes in the garage. For a year, I hadn't been able to bring myself to get rid of them, and now I was grateful for my reluctance. I needed to understand the extent of James's troubles, and these documents might hold clues. Hours later, surrounded by papers, I had pieced together a disturbing picture. James's business had been struggling for years, not just months as I had believed. There were loans from banks, from private lenders, and from sources identified only by initials. The amounts were staggering, over 3 million rand in total. Among the papers was a small address book I had never seen before. It contained names and numbers with no identifying information. One entry caught my eye. TM, emergency only. Below it was a local phone number. I hesitated, then dialed it from my new prepaid phone. A gruff voice answered on the third ring. "Who is this?" "My name is Adanna Okafor. I'm James Okafor's wife." There was a long pause. "James Okafor is dead." "No, he's not. And I think you know that." Another pause. "Where did you get this number?" "From my husband's records." "Are you TM? Meet me at the Golden Cafe in an hour." "Come alone." The line went dead. I knew I was taking a risk, but I needed information. Information I couldn't get from Marcus, who was clearly still loyal to James. I arranged for my neighbor to pick up the children from school and watch them until I returned, saying I had an unexpected work meeting. The Golden Cafe was in a part of Johannesburg I rarely visited, a commercial district full of small import-export businesses. Exactly the kind of business James had run. I sat at a table in the back, facing the door. My handbag containing the pepper spray I had started carrying after becoming a widow. A tall man with graying hair entered exactly 1 hour after the phone call. He scanned the cafe, his eyes settling on me. Without ordering anything, he walked over and sat across from me. "Mrs. Okafor, I'm Thomas Mbeki. I was your husband's business partner in the Mozambique venture." The venture that got him into trouble. Thomas's face revealed nothing. "What exactly do you know?" "That my husband faked his death a year ago because he owed dangerous people a lot of money. That these people now know he's alive and might come after me and my children. That everything I thought I knew about my life has been a lie." I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Thomas nodded slowly. "Who told you James is alive?" "Marcus." "Last night. And what does Marcus want you to do?" "Run. Take the children and go somewhere safe until James fixes the situation." Thomas laughed, a short, humorless sound. "James can't fix this. The people he owes money to don't give second chances." "Who are these people?" Thomas hesitated. "It's better you don't know specifics. But they provided financing for our business ventures in Mozambique. When the ventures failed, we were expected to repay the investment, with substantial interest. I managed to cover my portion. James couldn't, so he came up with his creative solution. Faking his death and leaving his family to deal with the aftermath is what you call a creative solution." I was struggling to keep my voice down. "I advised against it," Thomas said, raising his hands defensively. "I told him to negotiate, to ask for more time. But James was convinced they would come after you and the children to pressure him. And now they're coming anyway. What do they want from me? The rest of their money plus interest. About 2 million rand now." I felt a chill. "I don't have that kind of money. Not anymore. They won't believe that. They'll think James left instructions for you, a hidden account, something. But he didn't. He left me nothing but lies." Thomas studied me, seeming to assess my sincerity. "Then you have a serious problem, Mrs. Okafor. Do you know where James is now?" "No. We dissolved our partnership when he decided to fake his death. I wanted no part of it." "Then why did he list you as an emergency contact?" "Because despite our disagreement, I was one of the few people who knew the truth and had direct connections to his creditors. I assume he thought I could help if things went wrong." "Can you?" "Help, I mean?" Thomas sighed. I can try to act as an intermediary. Explain that you truly don't have the money. But they may not listen. These are not reasonable people, Mrs. Okafor. I need to find James, I said firmly. He created this mess. He needs to fix it. Finding him might be difficult. If he's in hiding in Mozambique, Marcus knows where he is. Or at least how to contact him. Thomas considered this. Be careful with Marcus. His loyalty has always been to James, not to you. I've realized that, I said bitterly. Is there anything else you can tell me? Anything that might help me protect my children? Thomas took out a pen and wrote something on a napkin. This is my private number. If they contact you, call me immediately. And Mrs. Okafor, don't tell Marcus you spoke with me. On the drive home, I tried to process everything I had learned. James had made enemies, dangerous ones. He had chosen to run rather than face them, abandoning us in the process. And now those enemies were coming for me and my children. I picked up Amara and Thabo from the neighbor's house. Looking at their innocent faces, I felt a surge of determination. Whatever James had done, whatever danger we were in, I would find a way to protect them. That evening, Marcus returned as promised. The children were in their rooms doing homework, and I let him in with a finger to my lips, warning him to be quiet. Have you decided? He asked once we were seated in the kitchen. I need more information. I need to speak to James directly. Marcus shook his head. Too risky. Any communication could be traced. I don't care. I've spent a year believing my husband was dead, grieving him, consoling our children. I deserve to hear from him directly before I uproot our lives again. Marcus hesitated, then pulled out a phone I didn't recognize. He wants to talk to you too, but this has to be quick, and you can't tell him I spoke with Thomas. My heart skipped. How did you— I've been watching out for you, Adanna. Making sure you're safe. I saw your meeting. The thought that Marcus had been following me sent a chill down my spine. How long had he been watching me? What else did he know? But I didn't have time to dwell on this. Marcus was dialing a number on the phone. After a brief exchange in which he confirmed it was safe to talk, he handed the phone to me. Adanna, the voice I had thought I would never hear again. The voice I had dreamed about, cried over, longed for during countless lonely nights. My husband's voice. James. I couldn't manage more than his name. My love, I'm so sorry. So sorry for everything. I closed my eyes, fighting back tears of anger and confusion. You let me think you were dead. You let our children think they had lost their father. I had no choice. These people, they would have hurt you to get to me. They would have used you and the kids as leverage. I had to protect you. By traumatizing us. By making us go through a funeral. By watching from wherever you were as I identified a body I thought was yours. I never wanted that. I thought it would be a few months at most. Just long enough for me to set up a new life for us. Somewhere safe. But everything went wrong. The money wasn't enough to pay them off completely, and they came looking for me. And now they're coming for us. For your children. I'm going to fix this, Adanna. I promise. But you need to trust Marcus. He'll take you and the kids to a safe place, and then I'll come to you. Like I trusted you? Like I believed in our marriage? Our life together? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. I deserve that, James said quietly. But please, for the children's sake, do as Marcus says. Get somewhere safe. Then we can talk about everything. I can explain it all face to face. I looked across at Marcus, who was watching me intently. I need time to think, I said into the phone. I need to understand what I'm dealing with. We don't have time, James insisted, his voice rising. They know where you live. They could come any day now. One day, I said firmly. I need one day to make arrangements for the children, to figure out what to tell them. We'll be ready to leave tomorrow night. There was a pause, then. Okay, one day, but be careful. Don't talk to anyone about this. Don't do anything unusual that might attract attention. I won't, I promised, though I had already done exactly that by meeting with Thomas. I love you, Adanna. I've never stopped loving you. Everything I've done, as misguided as it might seem, was out of love for you and the children. I couldn't bring myself to say the words back. Instead, I handed the phone to Marcus, who exchanged a few more words with James before ending the call. You'll be ready tomorrow? Marcus asked. I nodded, though I had no intention of blindly following their plan. Where will you take us? A safe house outside the city. Just for a few days, until James can arrange our transportation out of the country. And where will we go then? James has been setting up a new life in Madagascar. New identities, a house, everything you and the kids will need. Madagascar. A new life with a man who had lied to me, traumatized me, put our children in danger. A man I no longer knew if I could trust. I'll be ready, I said. After Marcus left, I sat alone in the kitchen, turning the prepaid phone over in my hands. I had a decision to make. Trust James and Marcus, run away to start a new life based on lies and deception, or take matters into my own hands. In the end, it wasn't really a choice. I couldn't build a new life on a foundation of lies. I couldn't teach my children that running from problems was the solution. I couldn't put our fate in the hands of men who had already betrayed my trust so completely. I dialed Thomas's number. "I need your help," I said when he answered. "I need to find a way to deal with these people directly. To end this without running, without more lies." "That's extremely dangerous," Thomas warned. "More dangerous than trusting a man who faked his own death? Than going on the run with 2 children, living with fake identities, looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life?" Thomas was silent for a moment. "Meet me tomorrow at my office. 10 a.m. I'll see what I can arrange." That night I lay awake in bed, thinking about the past year, the grief that had nearly broken me, the strength I had found in its aftermath, the woman I had become, no longer just James's wife, but Adanna, mother, provider, protector. I had survived losing James once. I could survive whatever came next. In the morning, I took the children to school as usual, promising myself that no matter what happened, I would find a way to minimize the trauma for them. They had already lost their father once. I wouldn't let them lose their sense of security again. Thomas's office was in a modern building in the financial district. His secretary showed me in immediately. "I've been in contact with my connections," Thomas said without preamble. "They're willing to meet with you." "The people James owes money to?" "Yes. They want to know what you know about James's whereabouts and any assets he might have hidden." "I know where he is. Or at least, I know he's in Mozambique, and Marcus knows exactly where." Thomas raised his eyebrows. "And you're willing to tell them this?" "I'm willing to help them find James, yes. He created this mess. He should be the one to face the consequences, not me and certainly not my children. These people, they won't just have a polite conversation with James. You understand that, right?" I understood. I was potentially putting my husband's life at risk. The man I had loved, had built a life with, had children with. But he had betrayed that love, that life, in the most profound way possible. And now he was asking me to betray myself, to become a fugitive, to raise my children in a world of lies and false identities. "I understand," I said, "but I need guarantees that my children and I will be left alone. That once they have James or the money, we're no longer involved." Thomas nodded. "I'll try to get those guarantees. But Adanna, you need to be prepared for what might happen if James is unable to pay." "You mean if they kill him?" I said it flatly. Thomas didn't deny it. "You need to be absolutely certain this is the path you want to take." Was I certain? Could I live with myself if James died because of my actions? But then, could I live with myself if I subjected my children to a life on the run, a life built on their father's cowardice and deception? "I'm certain," I said finally. "Arrange the meeting." Thomas made a call, speaking briefly in a language I didn't understand. When he hung up, he said, "Tonight, 8 p.m. There's an old warehouse at this address." He wrote it down for me. "Come alone. But I'll be there too, to make sure things don't get out of hand." I took the paper. "Thank you, Thomas. I know you don't have to do this. I'm not doing it for you or for James," he said. "I'm doing it to protect my own interests. If James is found, if there's violence, it could lead back to our business connections. I need this resolved cleanly." I appreciated his honesty, even if it wasn't comforting. At least he wasn't pretending to act out of friendship or loyalty, the way Marcus had. When I picked up the children from school, I held them a little tighter than usual. "Amara, perceptive as always, noticed. 'Are you okay, Mom?' she asked as we drove home. "Just a long day, sweetheart," I said, forcing a smile. "How was your math test?" I spent the afternoon helping with homework, making dinner, maintaining the facade of normalcy while my mind raced with preparations for the evening. I arranged for the children to sleep over at their friend's house, telling them I had a late shift at the hospital. I packed a small bag with essentials, the cash I had withdrawn, important documents, a change of clothes, and hid it in my car. At 7:30 p.m., I drove to the warehouse, my heart pounding in my chest. I was about to betray my husband to dangerous people who might kill him. But hadn't he betrayed me first? Hadn't he chosen to put us all at risk with his actions? The warehouse was in an industrial area that was largely deserted at night. A single car was parked outside, Thomas's. He was waiting for me, his face grim. "They're already inside," he said. "Remember, stay calm. Answer their questions directly. Don't volunteer information they don't ask for." I nodded, clutching my handbag with the pepper spray inside, knowing it would be useless if things went badly. Thomas led me into the warehouse. In the center, illuminated by overhead lights, was a makeshift meeting area. A table with chairs, like an island in the vast empty space. 3 men were seated on the far side. As we approached, one of them stood up. He was tall, well-dressed, with a face that might have been handsome if not for the cold, calculating look in his eyes. "Mrs. Okafor," he said, his accent placing him as Eastern European. "I am Victor. Please, sit." I sat across from them, Thomas taking the chair beside me. "Thomas tells me you have information about your husband," Victor continued. "Information you are willing to share. This surprises me. Most wives would protect their husbands. Most husbands don't fake their own deaths and abandon their families," I replied, keeping my voice steady. Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Fair point. What can you tell us about James's whereabouts? He's in Mozambique. He's been there since his death. His friend Marcus knows exactly where, and Marcus is planning to take me and my children to James tomorrow night." "Marcus and Lovu? The business partner?" "Yes, he's been helping James all along. He's the one who told me James is alive." Victor exchanged glances with the other men. "And why would Marcus reveal this secret after a year?" "Because you were getting close to finding James. He thought it would be safer to get us out of the country before you came looking for us." "I see." Victor leaned forward. "What about the money, Mrs. Okafor? Do you know where it is?" "What money?" "The insurance payout went to pay off our mortgage and set up education funds for our children. If James has other money hidden away, he hasn't told me about it." Victor studied me, his eyes cold. "You expect me to believe your husband didn't leave provisions for you? A bank account? A safety deposit box? Something?" "He left me nothing but a funeral to arrange and children to console," I said bitterly. "If he has hidden assets, they're hidden from me too. And yet you're willing to help us find him. Why? Because I won't live my life running. I won't raise my children on the run, with false identities, always looking over our shoulders." James made his choices. Now I'm making mine. Victor leaned back, seemingly satisfied with my answer. "Here is what will happen. You will proceed with Marcus's plan. Let him take you to the safe house. Contact us when you arrive, and we will come for James. Once we have him and our money, you and your children will be free to return to your lives. And if James doesn't have the money?" Victor's expression hardened. "Then James will have a problem. But that problem will not extend to you or your children, provided you cooperate fully." "I need that in writing," I said, surprising myself with my boldness. "A signed agreement that once you have James and settle your business with him, my children and I are free from any obligation or danger." Victor looked amused. "You're a brave woman, Mrs. Okafor. Most people in your position would not dare to make demands." "I'm not making demands. I'm establishing terms. You want James? I want safety for my children. It's a transaction, nothing more." Victor conferred briefly with his companions in a language I didn't understand. Then he nodded to one of them, who opened a briefcase and took out a sheet of paper. "My associate will draft something. While he does, tell me more about this plan with Marcus. Where is this safe house? When exactly are you supposed to leave?" I hesitated, suddenly aware that I was giving up my last bit of leverage. "I'll tell you that once I have your signed agreement." Victor's eyes hardened, but he nodded, respecting my position. The associate wrote rapidly, then slid the paper across to me. It was simple and direct. "Upon securing James Okafor and the settlement of his financial obligations, Viktor Dragovich and associates agree that Adanna Okafor and her children will be released from any obligation related to James Okafor's debts and will not be harmed or pursued in any way. I read it carefully. I want it to specify that we can return to our normal lives in our home without surveillance or interference. The associate added this, and Viktor signed it. I folded the paper and put it in my handbag, knowing it might be worthless if things went wrong, but taking what reassurance I could from it. The safe house is a farm property outside Pretoria, I said. Marcus is picking us up tomorrow at 9 p.m. He says we'll stay there until James can arrange transport out of the country. And James will come to this safe house? That's my understanding. Marcus says James will join us before we leave the country. Viktor smiled, a cold, satisfied expression. Perfect. Now here's what you will do. Proceed as planned with Marcus. When you reach the safe house, send a text to this number. He wrote a phone number on a scrap of paper. Just the word arrived, nothing more. We will handle the rest. I took the paper, trying to keep my hand from trembling. And then what? What happens to us when you come for James? You and your children will be in a separate room. You will hear nothing, see nothing. When it's over, you'll be free to go home, to return to your lives as if none of this ever happened. The words were reassuring, but Viktor's cold eyes told a different story. I was making a deal with the devil, and I knew it. But what choice did I have? Run forever with a husband who had betrayed me? Or face these dangerous men now and hope to give my children a normal life afterward? I understand, I said, tucking the paper into my handbag alongside their written agreement. One more thing, Mrs. Okafor, Viktor said as I stood to leave. If you warn James, if you deviate from this plan in any way, our agreement is void. And you will find that I am not a forgiving man. The threat hung in the air between us. I met his gaze steadily, refusing to show fear. I won't warn him. He made his choices. Now I'm making mine. As Thomas and I walked back to our cars, he spoke quietly. Are you sure about this? Once it's done, there's no going back. I'm sure, I said, though my heart was heavy. James brought this on himself. I need to protect my children, Thomas nodded. Be careful tomorrow. These men, they're more dangerous than you can imagine. I know what I'm doing, I said, hoping it was true. When I got home, I found a message from Marcus on my phone. All set for tomorrow. 9 p.m. Pack only essentials for you and the kids. I'll handle the rest. I replied with a simple okay and began preparing. I packed small bags for the children with clothes and a few comforts. Amara's favorite book, Thabo's soccer jersey. I told myself I was just playing along with the plan, but part of me wondered if we might actually need to run if things went wrong with Viktor. The next morning, I sat the children down at breakfast. I had decided they deserved some warning, even if I couldn't tell them the whole truth. I need to talk to you both about something important, I began, trying to keep my voice steady. We need to go away for a few days. Uncle Marcus is going to take us to a place where we'll be safe. Amara, always quick to understand, frowned. Safe from what, Mom? What's wrong? There's a situation with your father's old business. Some people might come looking for information we don't have. It's just a precaution. But Dad is dead, Thabo said, his young face confused and troubled. How can there be business problems? My heart broke for them. They had already endured so much, and now I was adding to their confusion and fear. But I couldn't tell them the truth. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Sometimes business problems continue even after someone is gone, I said, hating the lie but seeing no alternative. It's complicated, but I promise you'll be safe. We just need to go away for a little while, and then we can come back home and everything will be normal again. Amara's eyes narrowed. At 15, she was too perceptive, too intelligent to accept such a vague explanation. Mom, what aren't you telling us? I reached across the table and took her hand. I promise I'll explain everything when it's over. Right now, I just need you to trust me. Can you do that? After a long moment, she nodded, though the doubt remained in her eyes. Thabo, looking from his sister to me, nodded as well, though I could see the fear beginning to build in him. It's going to be okay, I assured them, hoping I wasn't telling another lie. Think of it as an adventure. Just a few days, and then we'll be back. After they left for school, I called in to confirm they would both be absent for the next week, citing a family emergency. Then I set about preparing the house, hiding valuables, securing important documents. All the things I would do if I really were planning to be away for some time. In the afternoon, I received another text from Marcus. Change of plans. Picking you up at 7 p.m. instead of 9. Be ready. My heart raced. This change could complicate Victor's plan. I needed to let him know. I took out my prepaid phone and texted the number Victor had given me. Time changed. 7 p.m. pickup now. The response came quickly. Understood. Proceed as planned. Text when you arrive. The earlier departure time meant I had to rush to pick up the children from school and get them ready. Amara was subdued, watching me with worried eyes as I moved around the house making final preparations. Thabo, sensing the tension, became clingy, following me from room to room. It's going to be okay, I kept telling them, and myself. Just a few days and then everything will go back to normal. At exactly 7 p.m., Marcus's car pulled into our driveway. He came to the door, his face grim. Ready? He asked, glancing past me at the children with their small backpacks. I nodded, picking up my own bag. We're ready. As we walked to the car, I felt a strange sense of unreality. Was I really doing this? Betraying my husband to men who might kill him? Putting my children in the middle of a dangerous situation? But I reminded myself that James had created this danger, not me. I was simply trying to find the safest way through it. Marcus drove in silence, taking a circuitous route out of the city. The children sat quietly in the back seat, Thabo eventually falling asleep against his sister's shoulder. Amara stayed awake, her eyes meeting mine occasionally in the rearview mirror, full of questions I couldn't answer. After about 2 hours of driving, we turned onto a dirt road that led to a small farmhouse. It looked abandoned, with no lights visible from the outside. Marcus parked behind the house out of sight from the road. We're here, he said, turning off the engine. Everyone inside quickly. I woke Thabo and we all hurried into the farmhouse. Inside, it was sparsely furnished but clean. Marcus switched on a few battery-powered lamps, casting a weak light around the main room. The bedrooms are through there, he said, pointing to a hallway. Get the kids settled. I need to make some calls. I took Amara and Thabo to a small bedroom with 2 narrow beds. They were exhausted from the tension and the long drive. I helped them get ready for bed, trying to maintain a sense of normal routine in this strange situation. Mom, Amara said as I tucked her in, what's really happening? And don't tell me it's just business problems. I sat on the edge of her bed, stroking her hair. It's complicated, Amara, and some of it I don't fully understand myself yet. But I promise you'll be safe. I won't let anything happen to you or Thabo. Is it about Dad? She asked, her voice small. Sometimes I dream he's not really dead. That it was all a mistake. My heart clenched. How could I respond to that? Her dream was reality. But I couldn't tell her that. Not yet. Not until I knew how this would all end. I miss him too, I said, which wasn't a lie. I missed the man I thought I had married, the father my children loved. I missed the life we had before I discovered it was built on lies. Once the children were asleep, I returned to the main room. Marcus was putting his phone away, his expression tense. James will be here tomorrow evening, he said. The boat is arranged for the following morning. Mozambique coast to Madagascar. I nodded, my hand slipping into my pocket where I had the prepaid phone. I needed to send the text to Victor, but I couldn't do it with Marcus watching. I need to use the bathroom, I said, hoping my voice sounded normal. Marcus pointed down the hall. Last door on the left. Don't try to call anyone. There's no reception out here except with specialized equipment. He patted his own phone. In the bathroom, I quickly typed, "Arrived," and sent it to Victor's number. Then I deleted the message and tucked the phone away again. It was done. I had set the trap for my own husband. When I returned to the main room, Marcus was checking the windows, making sure all the curtains were drawn. You should get some sleep, he said. Tomorrow will be a long day. Where will James arrive from? I asked, trying to sound casual. Is he driving? Marcus gave me a suspicious look. Why do you need to know that? Because I haven't seen my husband in a year. Because he let me believe he was dead. Because I have 1,000 questions and I'm trying to prepare myself for seeing him again. Marcus's expression softened slightly. He's coming by car from the north. He'll be here around sunset. I nodded, absorbing this information. Victor and his men would likely come before then, to set up an ambush. I needed to make sure the children and I were somewhere safe when that happened. I'm going to check on the kids and then try to sleep, I said. Marcus nodded. I'll keep watch. Don't worry, Adanna. By this time tomorrow, you'll be with James again, a family reunited. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they sent a chill through me. Would my children have a father tomorrow? Or would they lose him a second time, this time forever? I lay awake for hours beside my sleeping children, my mind racing with doubts and fears. Had I made the right decision? Was I trading one danger for another? What would happen when Victor and his men came for James? Eventually, exhaustion overcame anxiety, and I fell into a troubled sleep. I dreamed of James, not as the loving husband of our early years, but as he had been in the months before his death, secretive, tense, a stranger in our home. I woke to sunlight filtering through dusty curtains. Thabo was still asleep, but Amara's bed was empty. Panic flared in me as I hurried out to the main room. I found her sitting at the table with Marcus, who was making breakfast on a small camping stove. "Morning, Mom," Amara said, her voice subdued. "Uncle Marcus says Dad is coming today." I froze, looking at Marcus in shock. "You told her?" Marcus shrugged, flipping a pancake. "She asked who we were waiting for." I didn't see the point in lying. I wanted to scream at him. This wasn't his decision to make. These were my children, and I should have been the one to decide when and how to tell them this life-altering truth. Amara was watching me, her eyes wide. "Is it true? Is Dad alive?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm my anger at Marcus. "Yes," I said, sitting down next to her and taking her hands. "It's complicated, Amara. Dad had problems, dangerous ones. He thought the only way to protect us was to make everyone believe he was dead. While we were crying at his funeral, while we've been grieving for a year," her voice rose, trembling with anger and confusion. How could he do that to us? I had no answer that would make sense to her, because it didn't make sense to me either. How could James have put us through that trauma? How could he have watched from afar as we suffered, as we rebuilt our lives without him? "I don't know," I said honestly. "I'm angry too, but right now, the important thing is keeping you and Thabo safe." Amara pulled her hands away from mine. "Safe from what? What's really going on, Mom?" Before I could answer, Thabo appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "I smell pancakes," he said sleepily. I gave Amara a look that said, "Not now," and she nodded reluctantly, understanding that we couldn't have this conversation in front of her brother. Not yet. We ate breakfast in strained silence. Afterward, Marcus said he needed to check the perimeter, making sure we hadn't been followed. Once he was outside, I pulled Amara aside. "Listen to me carefully," I whispered. "Things might get complicated today. If I tell you to take Thabo and hide, you do it immediately. No questions, no arguments. There's a small closet in the hallway. If something happens, take Thabo in there and stay quiet until I come for you. Do you understand?" Her eyes widened with fear. "Mom, what's going to happen?" "Probably nothing," I lied. "It's just a precaution." Does this have to do with the men Dad was afraid of? The ones he was hiding from? I hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, but I'm handling it. I just need you to be ready, just in case." The day crawled by with excruciating slowness. Marcus was increasingly tense, checking his phone frequently, looking out windows. The children picked up on the tension, becoming quiet and watchful. I tried to distract them with card games and stories, but their minds were elsewhere. Amara processing the revelation that her father was alive, Thabo sensing that something big was happening even if he didn't understand what. In the late afternoon, Marcus received a call. He spoke briefly, then turned to me. "James is about an hour away. Everything's set." I nodded, my heart racing. Victor and his men would likely arrive soon if they weren't already watching the farmhouse. I needed to get the children somewhere safe before that happened. "I'm going to have the kids rest before James arrives," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's been a stressful day." Marcus nodded absently, his attention on his phone. I took the children to the bedroom, closing the door behind us. "Amara, Thabo," I said. keeping my voice low. I need you to do something very important. I need you to hide in that closet we talked about. Now. Thabo looked confused, but Amara understood immediately. It's happening, isn't it? Whatever you've been worried about. I nodded. Please, just do as I ask. Stay in the closet. Stay quiet, no matter what you hear. Don't come out until I come for you. Promise me. I promise, Amara said, taking her brother's hand. Come on, Thabo. It's like a game of hide and seek. I watched as my brave daughter led her brother to the closet in the hallway. Once they were inside, I closed the door gently. I love you both, I whispered through the door. Everything will be okay. I returned to the main room, where Marcus was peering out the window. Car coming, he said tensely. Not James, he'd be coming from the north. This is from the east. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. Victor. Maybe it's nothing, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. A lost driver. Marcus shook his head. No one gets lost out here. He pulled a gun from under his jacket, checking it quickly. You have a gun? I asked, genuinely surprised. The situation was escalating faster than I had anticipated. Of course I have a gun. I'm protecting a man who's supposedly dead from people who want to kill him. Marcus moved to the window again. 3 men getting out. Suits, despite the heat. Not locals. Victor and his associates. My plan was unfolding, but now that it was happening, I felt ill with doubt and fear. I had betrayed James, set him up to be captured or killed. Whatever he had done, did he deserve this? Marcus turned to me, his eyes suddenly suspicious. How did they find us? No one knew about this place except me, James, and now you. I backed away from him, aware that his gun was still in his hand. I don't know. Maybe they followed us. No, we were careful. We weren't followed. Marcus raised the gun, pointing it at me. What did you do, Adanna? Before I could answer, there was a loud bang at the door. Open up, a voice commanded. Victor's voice. Get in the bedroom. Marcus hissed at me, his gun still trained on my chest. Now! I moved toward the hallway, my only thought to get closer to my children. Marcus followed, keeping the gun on me as he backed toward the front door. I'm going to open the door, he said quietly. You stay silent, understand? I nodded, stepping into the hallway. As soon as Marcus turned toward the door, I sprinted down the hall, past the closet where my children were hiding, and into the bedroom. I heard shouting, then gunshots. I dove to the floor, crawling under the bed, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. More gunshots, more shouting, then silence. Terrible silence. I lay there, frozen with fear, straining to hear any sound that would tell me what was happening. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. The bedroom door crashed open. Mrs. Okafor? Victor's voice. I know you're in here. Come out now. I hesitated, then slowly crawled out from under the bed. Victor stood in the doorway, his gun at his side. There was blood on his expensive suit. Marcus? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. No longer a concern, Victor said coldly. Where are your children? Fear clutched at my heart. Safe, away from here. I sent them with a friend this morning. Victor studied me, clearly trying to decide if I was lying. Smart move, he said finally. Now we wait for James. What will you do to him? Victor's expression was unreadable. That depends on him. If he has our money, perhaps he lives. If not, he shrugged. I sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. What had I done? I had betrayed my husband, gotten Marcus killed, put my children at risk, all to avoid a life on the run, a life built on lies. But was this alternative any better? Our agreement still stands, I asked, trying to keep my voice from trembling. Victor nodded. Once we have James and settle our business, you and your children are free to return to your lives. As we agreed, I prayed he would keep his word. I prayed my children would remain safely hidden until this was over. I prayed that somehow James would have the money these men wanted, that he would live. As the sun began to set, Victor's phone buzzed. He answered, listened briefly, then hung up. He's coming, he said, nodding to his associates who had taken positions at windows. 5 minutes. 5 minutes until James arrived. 5 minutes until I would see my husband again, for what might be the last time. Victor turned to me. When he comes in, you will act normally. Greet him as if you're happy to see him. Any warning, any sign, and our deal is void. Understood? I nodded, feeling sick. The minutes ticked by with excruciating slowness. Then, headlights swept across the window as a car pulled up outside. Car door opening, closing. Footsteps on the porch. Adanna? James's voice calling from outside. Marcus? Victor gestured with his gun for me to respond. In here, James, I called, amazed at how steady my voice sounded. We're in here. The door opened, and there he was. My husband, the man I had mourned, had cried over, had buried. He looked thinner, his hair longer, his face more lined than I remembered. But it was James. Unmistakably James. For a moment our eyes met, and I saw his love for me, unchanged despite everything. Then his eyes widened as he registered Victor stepping out from behind the door. Hello, James, Victor said, his gun pointed at my husband's chest. It's been a long time. James's face went pale. His eyes darted to me, filled with confusion and betrayal. Adanna, what? I'm sorry, I whispered, the words inadequate for the magnitude of my betrayal. Understanding dawned in his eyes. You led them to me. Before I could respond, Victor's associates moved in, grabbing James, forcing him to his knees. Victor stood over him, gun aimed at his head. Where is our money, James? 2 million rand plus interest. I don't have it, James said, his voice strained. If I had it, I would have paid you. I've been trying to put together a new deal, something that would cover the debt. Victor cut him off with a gesture. We're not interested in new deals. We want our money. There's no money, James insisted. The insurance barely covered the initial debt. Everything else, it's gone. But I have connections in Mozambique, in Madagascar. I can rebuild, make the money back. In how long? Another year? 2? We've waited long enough. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Wait, I cried. Please, just wait. Victor glanced at me, annoyed at the interruption. Let me talk to him, I pleaded. Alone, 5 minutes. Maybe he's hidden something. Something he'll only tell me. Victor considered this, then nodded. 5 minutes. But we'll be watching, and listening. His associates pulled James to his feet and pushed him toward me. We moved to the corner of the room, as far from Victor as possible, though still within his sight and hearing. Why? James whispered, his eyes full of pain. Why would you do this? You left us, James, I replied, my voice breaking. You let us think you were dead. You let our children grieve for you. And now you want us to run, to live a life of lies and false identities? I couldn't do it. Not to them, not to myself. I was trying to protect you. By traumatizing us, by lying to us for a year, and now these people will come after us anyway. James shook his head. I had a plan. I still have a plan. If you had just trusted me, like you trusted me, you never told me about the debts, about the danger. You made all these decisions alone. Decisions that affected our whole family. James closed his eyes briefly, accepting the truth of my words. I was wrong, he admitted. I should have told you everything from the beginning. But Adanna, these men will kill me. Is that what you want? The question hit me like a physical blow. No, it wasn't what I wanted. Despite everything, despite the lies and betrayal, I didn't want James to die. Do you really not have the money? I asked quietly. He hesitated, and I saw the calculation in his eyes. Not all of it. Not here, but somewhere, a barely perceptible nod. Time's up, Victor called from across the room. What did he tell you? I turned to face Victor, making a split-second decision that would determine all our fates. He has the money, I said. Not here, but he can get it. We need to go to Johannesburg, to a bank there. Victor's eyes narrowed. Is this true, James? James, catching on, nodded. Yes, there's a safety deposit box. I can access it tomorrow morning when the bank opens. Victor considered this. You're both coming with us then. Back to the city. If this is a trick, it's not, I assured him. He wants to live. We all want to live. As Victor's associates secured James, I whispered to him. The children are here, in the hallway closet. His eyes widened with alarm. We need to get them out. I'll find a way, I promised. Just play along for now. Victor approached us. We're leaving. Now. Where are your children, Mrs. Okafor? And don't lie to me this time. I hesitated. then said, "They're here. Hiding. Let me get them, and we'll all go quietly." Victor nodded his permission. I walked to the hallway closet, my heart pounding. When I opened the door, I found Amara and Thabo huddled together in the dark. Amara's arms protectively around her brother. They looked up at me with terrified eyes. "It's okay," I whispered. "We need to go with these men. Dad is here and we're all going together. Just be very quiet and do exactly as I say, okay?" They nodded, climbing out of the closet. When they saw James in the main room, their reactions broke my heart. Thabo ran to him crying, "Dad," only to be stopped by one of Victor's men. Amara stood frozen, her face a mask of confusion, betrayal, and desperate hope. "Children," James said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I'll explain everything later. But right now, we need to go with these men. It's going to be okay." Victor watched this reunion with impatience. Touching. Now everyone in the cars. James comes with me, Mrs. Okafor and the children in the second car. As we were led outside, I saw Marcus's body by the front door, a dark stain spreading beneath him. I tried to shield the children from the sight, but Amara saw. Her face went pale, but she said nothing, focusing on helping Thabo into the waiting car. The drive back to Johannesburg was tense and silent. Thabo eventually fell asleep against me, but Amara stayed awake, her eyes fixed on the darkness outside the window. The man driving our car never spoke, and I was grateful for the silence. I needed to think. James had indicated he had some money hidden away, but I doubted it was the full amount Victor demanded. What would happen when that became clear? Would Victor kill James in front of us? Would he keep his promise to let me and the children go? We arrived in Johannesburg well after midnight. Instead of taking us to our home, the cars pulled up outside a nondescript hotel in a commercial district. We were escorted to a suite on the top floor, where Victor established himself in the main room while James, the children, and I were taken to a bedroom. "Get some rest," Victor said. "Tomorrow morning we go to the bank. If all goes well, you'll be home by noon." When the door closed behind us, Thabo launched himself at James, hugging him tightly. "Dad, you're really alive. I knew it." "I had dreams you weren't really dead." James hugged him back, tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Thabo. I never wanted to hurt you." Amara stood apart, arms crossed, watching her father with a mixture of longing and anger. "Why?" she asked simply. "Why would you do that to us?" James sat on the edge of the bed, still holding Thabo. "I was in trouble, Amara. Dangerous trouble. I thought if I disappeared, if everyone believed I was dead, the people I owed money to would stop looking for me. And you would all be safe. I was going to send for you once I had a new life set up, somewhere far away." "We had a funeral," Amara said, her voice rising. "We cried for you. For a year, Mom had to go to therapy. I had to go to therapy. All because you were too much of a coward to face your problems." "Amara," I said gently, "now isn't the time." "Then when is the time?" she demanded, tears streaming down her face. "When those men kill him for real. When we have to have another funeral, this time with an actual body." James flinched as if she had slapped him. "You're right to be angry," he said quietly. "What I did was unforgivable. But right now we need to focus on getting through tomorrow, on getting you and your brother safely away from these people." Amara turned away, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I went to her, wrapping my arms around her, letting her cry against my shoulder. "What's going to happen tomorrow, Dad?" Thabo asked, his young voice trembling. "Who are those men?" "They're people I owe money to," James explained simply. "Tomorrow we're going to get the money, give it to them, and then they'll let us go." It was a simplified version of the truth, one that omitted the very real danger we were all in. But it seemed to satisfy Thabo, who nodded and cuddled closer to his father. "Do you really have the money?" I asked James quietly, once the children had finally fallen asleep. He hesitated. "Some of it, about half. I was hoping I could negotiate, offer them what I have now, and a payment plan for the rest." "These don't seem like men who are open to negotiations," I said. James sighed. "No, they're not. But I do have something else they might want. Information about one of their competitors, something valuable enough that they might accept it in lieu of the remaining money. And if they don't, James met my eyes in the dim light of the hotel room. Then I'll tell them the truth. That you and the children knew nothing about any of this. That you believed I was dead until 2 days ago. I'll beg them to honor their agreement with you. To let you go. And they'll kill you, I whispered. Probably. We sat in silence for a long moment. The weight of everything between us. The lies, the betrayal, the year of grief, and now this deadly danger. I'm sorry I led them to you, I said finally. I thought it was the only way to keep the children safe, to give them a normal life again. James took my hand. You did what you thought was right. Just as I did, we were both wrong in different ways. I squeezed his hand, feeling the familiar calluses, the wedding ring I thought had been buried with him. Can we fix this? Can we find a way out? I don't know, he admitted. But we'll try. For the children. For the children, I agreed. In the morning, Victor came to wake us at 7 a.m. Time to go, James. You and I will visit this bank of yours. Your family stays here with my associates. I felt a surge of fear. No, we should all go together. That's not how this works, Victor said coldly. James and I go alone. Your family stays here as insurance. James looked at me, his eyes conveying what he couldn't say aloud, that this might be goodbye. It's okay, Adanna. I'll be back soon. Look after the children. As James was led away, Amara watched with wide, frightened eyes, suddenly understanding that her father might be walking out of our lives for a second time, this time forever. Thabo, still half asleep, waved goodbye, unaware of the finality this moment might hold. The hours that followed were the longest of my life. We were kept in the hotel suite, under the watchful eyes of Victor's 2 associates. They provided breakfast, allowed us to use the bathroom, but maintained a cold, professional distance. These were men who had killed before, and would kill again without hesitation if ordered. Thabo grew restless, asking repeatedly when his father would return. Amara sat by the window, silent and watchful, her face set in a grim expression that made her look far older than her 15 years. I moved between them, trying to comfort Thabo, while also respecting Amara's need for space to process everything that was happening. Just before noon, we heard the outer door of the suite open. Voices in the